All right, good evening. So today is the first day of our 3-week intensive for LinkedIn. And this is what we call the Purposeful Training Lab, where everything that we do here is going to be filled with purpose. So tonight, just going to go through a few things. The first thing I want to show you is the Canvas course. So I have actually added a discussion where you can go in and you'll be able to um, give an introduction to who you are, but also to find all of the course content. So I'm sharing this one's down here. Okay, so here is our Canvas course. All right, so I am not looking at it in student view. So when you log in, here is our week 1. And I intentionally put everything in sequence order, and you can't move forward until you view the previous item. Just because I just want to make sure that everyone is gathering and getting all the information that they need. But here in introductions, you will find a discussion thread where you will be able to respond and just post a little bit about yourself. I have enabled the option so that if you don't want to just type, like I still want you to put your current LinkedIn profile if you already have one. I know that some people might not, or they don't know their profile, so they might need to recreate one. But there is an option that you can reply and you can actually speak. So you will notice when you click on reply, you're going to, on the second row, you're going to see a little, it's not even a rectangle. It's not even a rectangle. It has an extra little, but it's like a little play button. And it's going to be record, upload media. So when you click that, it's going to ask you if you want to allow your camera and if you want to allow your microphone. As long as you allow that, you will be able to record a response. All right, so you can either use your webcam, you can take the webcam off, and you can just do audio. Another way is if you are recording on your phone, you can use the voice recorder on your phone. I know that most computers also have voice recorders. So the one that I did for my post, because I started the discussion thread, I just used the mic, and you can just choose which mic you want to use and then press record. So it doesn't have to be webcam. If you notice, I took off. I don't know if you're able to see this part, but there's an option for no video, and then you can only do audio. So I like that feature, and it makes it sometimes a little bit more engaging when you you can hear one another versus only reading the feedback. Okay, so that is an option. So before it's already started. After the class, you can go in, and I would just ask that everyone will follow our Purposeful Training LinkedIn page. So we actually do have a page that is now up. Okay, and you can find that in my post with my response. Okay, so I just really wanted to just show you that. I like to navigate back to modules. So I don't know if you have never used Canvas, going back to modules will make it easier to see all of your options. So I think everyone has already attended the introduction to LinkedIn, and that video is going to be added as well, so that you can always go back and reference. But today I really want to discuss what we call a LinkedIn profile blueprint. So with this profile blueprint, is looking at all of the components that we're going to focus on. You have a PDF copy. You have a Google Drive copy that you can utilize. If you want to share that with the group and with the class, you can do that. And this way, it would be a lot easier for us to give you feedback within the document, and you can actually see those comments. You also have a Word document version of it, so you don't have to worry. You can always just copy, download that and work on it. The reason why I'm giving you that and why we're going to start there is because we really want to get into this habit of mapping things out. Think about when we write a term paper, right? If you wrote a paper, some people can just sit down and just start writing and they just go. Some people have to kind of like map things out. In this case, I want us to map this out. And when we map it out, I feel as though it's really beneficial because this process is a very emotional process. A lot of us, just like a resume, it's hard for us to explain what do we do, what have we accomplished, where are you an expert in. So you're going to be able to look at this blueprint and start to identify. So when I click on this blueprint, it is going to open up Google Docs. You know what? Let me just open up. I'm gonna just open up the actual document. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask questions. Don't feel like you can't. This is very engaging, so I don't want to feel like I'm just talking to myself. So I'm actually downloading the PDF. Okay. So this is our PDF version. So what you're going to do is, as you're going to start from the beginning. Now, the one that I really want to start focusing on is your headline. So remember when we spoke in the initial workshop, and I'm going to open that up too, so that you can see. Your headline is what you're really is what you're going to use to attract the a potential employer, client, customer. Like that is what people are looking for, and they are looking to see who you are, right? And what can you bring to the company? And a lot of times people just like to see names and they like to see titles. So when we are thinking about that headline, let me come back to this document, right? So our headlines is going to be, who is Bola, right? And this is me talking to you. This is calling you out. Who is Bola? That's what we want the headline. Like, what does Bola do? What does Tanisha do? And it can be multiple things. So I don't want you to get stuck with, a lot of times people use this part as their current job posting, like their current job title. So they will look at their job description of their current position and say, I am a teacher, I am a college professor. But you're actually more than that, right? And this is where you have to kind of dig deep and have that self-evaluation and that self-reflection and say, this is when I identify myself as, and you start to list. Now, there are multiple people like myself that, we put various titles because we hold various titles. And the more that you can, those terminologies, those titles, those positions, however you want to name it, you can post them. And if you notice, I put this line here, right? So it's the key right underneath backspace. And I just, I put each of my job postings. Okay, so I want you to start thinking about what is my heading, right? And I'm going to actually bring up my current LinkedIn profile so that you can see Okay, so now this is my current profile. I am a training specialist. I am a professor, inspirational speaker, remote learning design consultant. Okay, so this is your heading. You can have several, you can have one. I would never say keep it blank. Okay, most people, if you look, so here you're going to always see people that have similar names. So like this person here, Jennifer. Jennifer doesn't have she doesn't have a heading, right? I want to recommend that. Curtis Cox, and these are my connections. Curtis Cox, he is an educator, motivational coach, organizational, let me see what the rest of that, right? I love this, educator, motivational coach, organizational culture and diversity strategist, writer and speaker, right? This is painting a picture as to who this person is. That's what we're looking for. That's what that heading is for. So when you're looking at your heading, I want you to say, when people are looking at my profile, what do I want them to see? Does that make sense? And you can also use the chat as well. All right. So your heading, like I said, in the headline, that could be, it could, that could be very emotional. But I want you to dig deep and find those several, because a lot of us, we're not just one thing. We can't put ourselves in a box. But then I also don't want you to put something that's going to attract. So this is also what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to use a title that is going to attract something that you don't want to do. For instance, I also have a background in operations. I do not, and I would not put, I am a director of operations or operations strategist, because that is not the direction that I'm heading. So we need to figure out in this headline, what is it that I truly want people to know about me? What do I identify myself as? And in this case, we're not talking about pronouns. We're talking about what is your headline, and what do I want to attract moving forward? So if I don't want to be attracted and associated with operations positions, I don't want to put that there, because now, again, if you're looking for a job, a recruiter is going to see, oh, director of operations, let me call her. That's going to be an effort of a phone call on their behalf that can be really unnecessary if you would just eliminate that. So that's something also. So while many times we have various roles and backgrounds, we don't want to put all of our backgrounds. What is it that you want people to contact you for? And that's how you're going to look at that headline. Now, current position. There's many arguments. Some people, especially those that are in the market of looking for a new position, they do struggle with how do they identify or a similar role, similar as to what I'm dealing with. I have a job, but I also have a business. I don't want to necessarily put my current position, because I don't want my potential employer to see and to, now you're starting to make connections. When you are starting to dive off into your own independence, that does become a conflict for some employers. There are other strategies. Simple. I'm very honest. I've blocked like everyone in my immediate department. I blocked them on LinkedIn, because I don't want them to see, what is this? What's Tanisha doing? Wait, she's doing all this other stuff. That can become a problem. And some employers, while many will embrace you and encourage you to do, your independent thing, a lot of people don't. So you have to make that decision for yourself as to what is your current position. You can put down you are, whatever that title is, you can associate it with your company, you can associate it with the business that you work for, or your own personal business. All right. So that's not something that I would technically like really focus too much on. Really just try to start getting that headline going. Education, absolutely. Every degree that you have finished that you are pursuing, you want to add and you want to put that onto your LinkedIn. Education is something that a lot of people definitely, I see there are a lot of doctors who have their doctorate. There's a huge community on LinkedIn that are very supportive of education. So you definitely want to add that. And then also the other good part is that as you start to look at other opportunities and you also start to look at other connections, LinkedIn is going to automatically start to expose you to those people that you have gone to school with, whether you know them or not. So that helps to identify and build your network. So you are going to start seeing, like, I went to the College of New Rochelle. It's going to show me fellow College of New Rochelle graduates, and now I'm able to connect with them, whether they graduated before me, they graduated with me, or they graduated after me. So you definitely do want to put your college education, graduate education, certificates. If you have done any kind of certificate program, you also want to add those, especially if they are specialized. So if you have done any kind of like Six Sigma, you want to add that. If you did any kind of project management certificates, you definitely want to add those. So make sure that you are adding your most recent education first and adding anything else that's relevant. Country and region and location within this region. So how LinkedIn operates, they will automatically first show you everyone that is in your immediate region. So if you put New York, you put greater, I think how they term it now is, because they actually updated the terminology. So I believe it's like the greater New York region. Yeah, New York City metropolitan area. So whereas one of my connections, he was listed as Brooklyn, New York, I want to be connected with everyone in the New York City metropolitan area. So you will have that option, and you can choose how detailed you want to be. If you want to be a little bit more broad, you can also do that. And then within that location. The next thing is, what is your industry? Now, the industry part is similar to the headline. This one, and I'm actually going to edit my profile so we can see that aspect. All right. So when you see here, industry, it has a drop down, and they pretty much have from writing and editing all the way down up to accounting. And you have to determine, see, I didn't even realize now they added e-learning. So I can actually technically change it to professional coaching and professional teaching, training and coaching to either e-learning. And matter of fact, that's what I think I'm gonna do. All right. So you can choose the one that is best appropriate for you, for your industry. All right. So that part, if you notice, we don't necessarily see it, but that is going to become helpful as far as recruiters. And you're seeing my profile as I see it. So that's why you're going to be able to see normally, and this is the other good part. So there is an option now with LinkedIn where you can add open to work, and you can list the type of titles that you want. I tend to play with this quite often if I'm not receiving the type of calls that I want. So you can go into your profile and you can activate this. And that's a very discreet way. So a long time ago, in people's headline, instead of them putting this type of headline, they used to put open to work, looking for an opportunity, right? So LinkedIn is trying to take that option away so that you don't have to put that in your headline. You can use it for more purposeful reasons, but now they have added this where you can say I'm open to work. So I think that's a really a good way that you can kind of let LinkedIn know. And like I said, you can always edit that, and you can put down the job location. So if you're open to finding opportunities in other locations, I'm going to put a new title, e-learning specialist, right? And I think the more that, and it's up to 5, so let me take out I don't think I want to be a director of training anymore. Right? So you have to like really know, like, what am I looking for? What am I looking for? Okay. And they have now added, especially with COVID, remote positions. So as you're really going through, and again, this part is not per se a part of the, it's not per se a part of the blueprint, but when you go into LinkedIn, these are things that I will say are really imperative that you pay attention to. All right. And then your contact information. So there are also some, hold on one moment. So there are some specialists that feel as though you should put your contact information. So there's a guy by the name of John Krantz, and John is a LinkedIn expert. I have actually studied under him. John indicates and he suggests that you should put your email in your headline. I've tried that. The reason why I took my email out of my headline was because I was getting a lot of spam. So there were a lot of like, people that are looking for, work from home jobs that are not legit, or they're like multiple level marketing. I didn't want that kind of attraction. Once in a while it was beneficial because I would get a recruiter that would email me directly and didn't send me a message on LinkedIn. So there are pros and cons to it. I personally just didn't like having all of these extra emails that were coming in about, do you want to work from home and make $5,000, or, those opportunities that you read on the internet where we'll send the products, we'll send the money orders to you, you cash it, and you keep 70% and you send us 30, or vice versa. So that's the reason why I stopped. But that is up to you. But you can definitely put your contact information. And I would say, you want to put your social media handles such as Twitter. I'm finding that Twitter and LinkedIn works really well together. So I did a test this past week, and I went back on Twitter, and I started to see that a lot of people were posting either articles, they were posting, job postings on Twitter, and they were all linking back to LinkedIn. So I feel like there's a connection between Twitter and LinkedIn. So if you are using Twitter, I would recommend that you would at least put your Twitter handle. Don't put Facebook, especially if your Facebook is more on the personal side, and definitely not put Instagram. They do give you those options, but unless your Instagram page is like 100% professional, a lot of motivational quotes, things like that, I still like to kind of keep that separate. So my Twitter page will be more appropriate versus anything else. All right. Now, when we look at our summary, now my summary is different because I have a very different background. So I will show you. So my summary actually is very long, but if you see, it's not a big paragraph. So this is my motto: live on purpose with purpose. If you have been following me, you have heard me say this numerous times. And then I also post. This is actually from my resume. So I copied and pasted this. So professional training specialist with knowledge of adult learning theories, experience in blah 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 blah. All right. So this is just a little blurb as to what else. Again, you want your summary, you want your about to be about what can I offer? What type of problems can I solve? So I want someone that is reading this to say, oh, she knows about adult learning. Okay, she does facilitation. She's, they don't have to ask me, so what kind of facilitation do you do? I do in person and I do virtual. I'm a firm believer when you give people the details, you do not have to have that back and forth conversation of what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? You don't have to have that. It's right here in my profile. Okay. And then I like to just put like these little lines. So there's no right way, but again, I want it to be very clear and clean. So I like to separate. So you're able to go in and you can modify that. I do include my books so that even though my books are not career oriented, I still add them because I want people to know what books I have published. For me personally, because I have been quote unquote, as people like to say, a public figure, I do include the different publications. Now, this has been beneficial because it has opened up opportunities for speaking engagements and for to be invited to podcasts to discuss various topics. So for me, it works. You have to kind of figure out if you have worked with if you have worked with various organizations and let's say you're a consultant, you definitely want to put a space of the companies or the schools or the programs that you have worked with. So I would always recommend that you just work with the following organizations and you just blah, 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 blah. All right. If you do any type of special workshops, any type of special lectures, add that. All right. So you want to give a person who is reading your profile the opportunity to say, okay, this is what this individual can bring to our company, to our business. This is going to add value. So you might have to kind of I always play around with the names of my different workshops because sometimes one might not be as appealing to another. So the about section is about you, but you don't want it to just be a big paragraph. Think about, you want white space, you want to kind of make it clean, you want to put line breaks. You could create an using an underscore, you can just create that line, but you definitely want to break it up and make it unique for you. Okay. Any questions about that? Any questions about what you should put? Okay. All right. So that our next part is going to be now we're going to start talking about the work experience. Now although this looks like our resume. What is it? What's the title? Right. The employment type, the company, your location, the dates, the headline description. This looks very similar to what we would see in a resume, but it is not the same. And I'm going to show you why it's not the same. So here is your work experience. The other cool thing that I like about LinkedIn is that, especially if you have gotten promoted in a particular position, it will show that. So I still work for Monroe College. My most recent position is instructional designer. And when I first started, I started as an adjunct professor. So this is actually showing, oh, she was promoted. So there are people that started as, like I saw someone's profile and they worked 20 years at a company and they just kept getting promoted. So that actually is a great thing to show when you can show that within your profile. But what you're not seeing is the traditional put it in your work experience. So I'm going to open up a new one. All right, so what is your title? All right, so I'm gonna just put in senior training consultant. Employment type. Now, this does not necessarily show up on your LinkedIn profile, but recruiters, from what I have been told, recruiters can see that. So you can add this or you can leave it blank. Okay. And they have every type from freelance, self-employed, full-time, contract, you name it, the options are there. Now the company. All right, so we started to type in Microsoft. I'm spelling it wrong. All right, so if I worked at Microsoft, it is going to now attach and it's going to show the Microsoft logo. So that's why Monroe automatically came up. Now, this is helpful, especially when unfortunately, we live in a world where name recognition, it matters. So if a company can't identify your business, then it's like, oh, you know, this person stands out. So if you can attach the actual company's page, it's gonna actually attach to their LinkedIn page if they have one. You don't have to put the location, but you could. You can also put when did you start. So you can put the month and the year. So let's say you started September 2020. Okay. Oh, it can't pass. So let's say August. All right. So you can say I'm currently in this role. Matter of fact, we're gonna take this out. All right. And we're gonna keep it as the present date. Now, they're gonna ask you, do you want to end? Because if you have any other current positions, do you want to end this? You can say yes or no, or you can just, you know, skip it. For the moment, I'm skip it. Now, update my industry. Facebook is known for that particular industry. If you don't want your industry to update, then do not click this. Right? If you want I want my industry to stay e-learning, so I would not click this because it's going to attach to Facebook's industry. Do you want to update your headline? So if I check this, my headline is going to go from training specialist, professor, inspirational speaker, remote learning, design consultant. So I'm going to deselect this because I do not want my headline to update. I want it to remain the same. Description. What do you do? Now, this is where most people, if they didn't upload their resume, this is where they go to their resume, copy and paste, and then they just add the bullets. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to actually, and this is truly, and I can honestly say, this is the hardest part, because now you have to start to identify keywords of tasks and related softwares and key parts that you constantly do. So let's say in this position as a senior training consultant, I do train the trainer. Right? For some reason, I just like that line. I don't like the // I just like that. It makes it look clean and neat. So I do train the trainer. I use software such as Salesforce. Documentation creation. And let's just add one more. Okay. So I'm just putting key things, softwares that I use in this particular role. I can do 50 things, but I want to highlight. You know, if you're working with a particular LMS, so for our class, we're using Canvas, right? I'm going to put Canvas LMS. I'm going to use both of them together because a lot of people don't know Canvas, but they might know, they know the term LMS. So they would know Blackboard, they would know Design to Think. They're going to know all of these different LMS systems. So the going thing is, if you know one, it's really easy for you to know and learn others. Okay. No, you don't have to write a paragraph, right? So what you want to do is you really want to just say, what are the key parts? What are the key components that I have done at this particular job? And that's how you want to word it. And you want to just like, you know, softwares. So whatever, so think about, this could be your homework assignment. In this particular position, what are the key words? What are the key words? Right? And then next week we can come back and we can share that, or you can share that in our discussion. Right? So you don't want to just do the copy and paste, because if you go, so like if I open up my resume, and which I'm not, because that's going to take too long, but if you go to your resume, you're going to see all of, you know, all of those bullets. That's not what we want, right? LinkedIn gives you a space where you can upload the resume, especially when it's time for you to apply for opportunities. Here is, give me a describe. Think about it that way. Describe, what do you do? Or what did you do at this job? And however it starts, that's what I want you to use. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Now, this part, we're not going to get to this part until week 3. But I also do a workshop for Zoom. And one thing that I have been challenging myself and challenging anyone that I work with is, for every job, and I think a lot of people that might be joining this particular cohort, I think you all are like freelancers, you're consultants. We're going to talk about that in a moment, because you should have a separate one for your business. Okay. And under that, because a lot of times it does become a conflict when you are uploading work that you have done for a particular client, a particular company. So for instance, at Monroe, I can't show anything that I've done for Monroe. Everything it belongs to Monroe. So I don't technically own that. Now, if I was to recreate something on my own that could be used by my employer, then that's something that I still own. It's not a product of Monroe College. All right. So when you do you're gonna redo this, one of these are gonna be for your company. So if you are an educational consultant, this is your title. The company is going to be your company, even if your company does not have a LinkedIn page. But here is where you're going to start putting links to presentations, anywhere that you might have been a guest speaker and you had a recording, even if it's just a clip of it. I recently worked on doing a demo for Storyline 360, and I wanted to demonstrate that, because that's a part of building your portfolio. So this part is what we're going to get to when we get to week 3. So that's something that I would say stay tuned for, because this is where we're going to kind of like start pushing and stretching you to, come out your comfort zone, because LinkedIn is really set up for, so like you can see here, this is my business. So I do have one for Purposeful Training. Purposeful Training has its own LinkedIn page. All right. So a person who clicks on it is going to see Purposeful Training. They're seeing the content. There's a special person that we know there, right? Here's the information about that for the course that you're taking now. So there is an actual place. All right. But underneath that is where I have, these are my links. So this is my speaker sheet. This is a link to show for Canvas on how to enter and view student view. And this is the one for how to look at my video for Storyline. All right. So that employer or that potential client is able to now click to see what it is that I want to show them. And it comes back. So this also means you would need to create. Hi, this is Tanisha Williams. So this is a very simple Storyline 360 demo that I created using various triggers and layers. So I'm just simply showing the different features and animations. I think this one is really cool. I'm very proud of myself about that one. Right? So that also means you will need to have at least a YouTube page, and that's free, so you don't have to, pay for that. So once you record your Zoom, once you record your demos or yourself speaking or yourself presenting, you can now download that and you can add that to your LinkedIn page through your YouTube page. So this part here, this is when I say the social media, the professional portfolio, this is what I'm referring to, all right? An employer can just click there and say, okay, what is this? What is that? What is this, right? They're able to do that. So that's the true meaning. That's the real thing that we really want. We want anyone to be able to see what is it that you have done, right? So anyone that is searching for a mentor, anyone is searching for a professional training program, right? In this particular case, I actually put workforce development because this was a workforce development position, program. So that's something that, you have to determine. If it's a higher education, you might want to put higher education. If it's a K to 12, middle school, high school. So you have to kind of pull those trigger words that is describing that position, that's describing that opportunity. And that's what you're going to put in that description. All right. So we're not doing a traditional bullet points. We're not doing a traditional paragraph. We're really just highlighting, right? Because what ends up happening is that if you do apply for a job, the job is going to be able to, so let me show you a posting. So there is a button for jobs. All right. So let's see. So Columbia University is looking for an instructional designer. Where is it? Wait. Sometimes I know it gives you like a matchup. For some reason, I know it comes up on the phone, but there's usually, no, I don't think. So I know that when I apply for jobs on the phone, it always shows me like so the person who's creating the job posting is going to list the things that they're looking for in a potential client. And so let's look at this one. Right. Just for you guys, I'm gonna apply. So there's an easy apply, contact information. This is where, so I'm actually just applying for the sake of it. But here is where you can actually upload your resume and it will store your resumes for you. All right. And every job position is going to have a little bit more information. They're going to ask you other questions. Some of them are just very straight to the point. You just upload the resume and then it finished. So I'm actually just doing more work at this particular time. Okay. And my application is now submitted. Wait, is it here? Okay, so you see here how it says how you match. So this one, they only indicated, and as you see, we went through a few before we were able to see. So there are going to be some jobs that are going to look for, employers have actually posted criteria that they want you to have. And so this one only lists one, which is only a bachelor's degree. So you have that white check, that means that you're good to go. So for this particular position, I technically am well qualified because they're only the one main criteria is that you have to have a bachelor's degree. I wish I could find one that had more than just that. Every job doesn't have it, but that's where they're pulling. And when you see, like you can see the check marks. So what I started to do is when I'm applying for jobs and I see that something that I know I have experience in and it's not checked, it makes me go back to my profile and say, where is this missing? Where am I not placing this? So it's really helpful. Like I tell people, even if you're not you're not looking for jobs, you kind of just want to still see what's out there and see what is coming up for you as far as how do you match and are those keywords being checked off for you. So I mean, that will take some time because you are going to end up like we're doing right now. We're going through and trying to find an example, but that would be also helpful for you to figure out, what is what are, why am I not getting the hits that I'm looking for? Well, that part right there is the one that really is helpful. Okay. And so that's pretty much for your jobs. You put as many jobs as you desire. I don't have a recommendation. I know that, I mean, I wouldn't tell someone that has 30 years of experience to put their first job, but if it's related, even if it is maybe, you might have started 15, 20 years ago and you left that field and you came back, then I would put it. I think it's still beneficial to put um, your work experience that you have no desire. Again, sometimes name recognition and just titles. So I know that even though I don't want to be a director of operations, that is to a recruiter, director of operations, like, wow, that's status. So that is something that they would, might be willing to negotiate with me and say, hey, we would like to, we can give you a little bit more because we know that you have leadership and management experience, even though the position that I might be applying for might not necessarily be a leadership or management position. All right. And then your education. So you definitely want to put your degrees. You want to put the field of studies, any activities, any type of organizations that you are affiliated with through college. If you graduated honors, I also, what I did under my master's, I actually put the title of my thesis. So in description, you can put the title of your thesis. So if you finish your doctorate, you want to put the title of your dissertation. So those are, that's pretty much what I will put in our description for education. All right, and I just want to confirm. And just understand that a lot of times when you are looking at someone's right, so when I was in college, I'm a part of Zeta Phi Beta. I was a chapter president. I was a part of student government, right, Black Student Union. So you definitely want to apply those. Okay, so that's as far as the main part that I really want you to focus on. There are other parts you can put volunteer. So I'm actually going to talk about this because this could be beneficial to you in the future. A lot of us do, like I do free speaking engagements. Every time that I speak, it's not always a paid opportunity. Again, name recognition. So I have, even though after I left Grace Institute as an employee, I went back and I did some workshops. And one of the workshops I did, of course, is about purpose. So it was called Setting Lifestyle Purpose Goals. And I did a workshop there. I also was the moderator for one of the some author who was releasing her first book. So I was the moderator. I also did various workshops for New York City DOE. Now this was tied to one of my other positions that I actually got paid for, but I also felt it was necessary to still put it here because it might get lost in that position. Again, name recognition, people recognize New York City Department of Education. And I also did some speaking engagements for Pratt Institute. Now, this was a paid opportunity, but I still put it under my volunteer, right? So someone who's looking at this, I'm not going to put paid speaker. I'm putting this down because I want people to see what type of other work am I doing, what organizations am I working with. You can put more information, you can put less. You really have more flexibility as far as your volunteer. So if you are volunteering and you want to add that, by all means, definitely want to, you can add that part to your resume, to your profile. All right. So what I want you to do over the course of between now and, let's say, Monday, is you go into the document, you open up the Google Docs, right? And you sit, and I would like for you to start filling this out in the Google Docs and then share it in your discussion. So there's going to be a discussion thread where you can now share your Google Doc, and we can give you feedback. I can give you feedback. Your other classmates can also give you feedback, and we can kind of have a conversation and discussion. So next week, this would be the first thing that we talk about, so that if there's anything that you're confused about, that you need more clarity, that you want to have like a brainstorming session, how should I word this? What am I missing? Sometimes you might just tell us and then we'll hear, keywords that you might say, okay, yeah, I want to add this, I want to add that. So that's really what this is about, is really bouncing off ideas. So you kind of have like a mini mastermind class with other like-minded people that are in the same process as you. And then, next week, you can start to populate this into your LinkedIn. Now, if you don't have a LinkedIn already, you can create it and you can just leave it blank for now. If you do have a LinkedIn, you don't have to touch anything yet. And if you desire, after you update, you can send me a link, or you can send me a message. Hey, can you just do a quick audit of my page? Is there anything that I should add? And I will absolutely go in and give you feedback. Right. So this is not, as you saw me just now, as I'm updating, I'm like, oh, hey, I need to change this. I need to change that, because things are constantly changing. LinkedIn is always adding new features, things that, I may not have thought about. And now, you saw me in live on video making those changes. Like, oh yeah, let me add this, let me change that. So that's really how it should be, right? You should not have the same profile today, and we should not look at your profile 2 years from now and it looks identical. No, this should be a living document, right? It's a living profile. And as you're learning what's working, what's not working, then now you can always go back and you can always tweak it. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So this is what I would like to offer. Yes, I can't wait for you to get started as well, right? So if you need if you need, want to schedule some time, I will give a free session where we can connect through between now and next week, Wednesday. And if you want to kind of bounce some ideas off before you share it with the entire group, by all means, please send me an email and we can get that scheduled. I am here as a resource to help you and assist you. Don't feel like, you just have to only speak to me on Wednesday. No, like this is a process for the next 3 weeks where we're going to work together, and really start getting this profile, alive, and start getting the attention that you do want. But one thing I do want to actually just go back, and I didn't talk about this too much, but profile pictures. So I don't know if you have a profile picture already, but I know that, I would say when coronavirus is over, I have actually requested for a photographer once the pandemic actually happens. And, some people they would prefer to have a photographer. You can do it by the water, you can do it like in a nice field. But kind of just have a more professional picture. Try to stay away from your selfies, and definitely don't put a group picture, right? So that's just something that I did want to keep in mind, and I just want to like bring up just so that you can start thinking about it. if you don't have a professional picture. So I know that, and I know some people just don't like taking pictures. And if you don't like taking pictures, I get it. But people, as the only downfall, and I have had arguments and conversations about this, some people don't like the fact that a potential employer can see how you look. And I I get it, but they're gonna find out how you look anyway, right? So kind of give them like the best first impression, if that makes sense, right? You want to give them a great first impression. It's just like a dating app, but for a better reason. Okay. So that's all that I have to cover tonight, because tonight is just this week between today and next week. And it's not mandatory, but I want you to get the most out of it. So that I would ask that you actually, work on that profile and share it. So there is going to be, you are absolutely welcome. There is going to be a place, right? It's going to be a place where you can actually upload it. Actually, let's just keep it to the discussion. So the introduction discussion is where you can go in and you can share. And please make sure that you are sharing your LinkedIn, because you need to connect with one another. I will be working on giving some recommendations out. So that is something that's also why I want to connect with you all, so that I can, be a part of your process of boosting your profile. Okay, so if you have, oh no, actually there's a whole Dropbox. So you would actually, if you wanted to submit it for review, you would submit it here for me. And if you want to submit it for your colleagues to give you feedback, then you can submit it in your introduction. Okay, so this one would just be solely for me to review, and the introduction would be for the share out for to get feedback from your colleagues. And if we can keep it in Google Docs, like I said, I think that makes it a lot easier when when we're able to just, select the word and add a comment versus, going in and making changes. Plus, while I'm in it, you can actually be in it still working, and at least you will know that, Tanisha is in my document and she's giving me feedback. That's the one thing that I do like about Google Docs. Okay. All right, so thank you for joining us. One thing I do want to mention is that we are starting an affiliate program. So if you have other like-minded individuals that could benefit from this, I would love if you can share this information. And we are actually offering opportunities for you to receive a commission every time they enroll under your promo. So this is something that, we can't do this alone, and we need others like you that, just word of mouth, but at the end, it would benefit you in the long run. So I thank you on behalf of Purposeful Training, and I hope this has been helpful. I look forward to seeing you next week, and you will have a link. I will make sure that the link is posted so that you can go back and you can review this at any time. All right. So I am Tanisha Shanae. Thank you. Have a good evening.